crypto for your hump day Wednesday all-time high day. Yes, crypto will be the talk du jour today. I know some of you are just sick and tired of hearing about crypto, but it's noteworthy what's been going on out in that space. Hello, Siraj, Dana, Naum, Catherine, Mr. Barr, good to have you, Johan and Ken, Gary, Mimi, Giselle, Lisa, and of course, starting things off, Les Gold from Cape Canaveral. Speaking of blasting off, we have Mr. Gold from Cape Canaveral. And Rob, good to have you with us as well from the UK. All right, where we go today? I guess I would start things off really just by running through our top 7 markets. I'm going to start things from the bottom and work our way up before I get to my splash screen here, which is the crypto Blastoff. So let me just do that. We'll talk a little bit about earnings as we go as well. So let's just dive right in. We'll start things off with the weakest on the day, which was NASDAQ. Now, if you might recall, yesterday we were talking about how the NASDAQ, the NQ, was coming up into supply. A little bit of a hesitation today. Nothing overly dramatic, right? Still looking strong. But I am definitely expecting there to be a pullback in this most recent rally, which is to the tune of almost 6 days in a row of just great gains. A little bit of a breather as we come into supply. Given the way things are going, it does seem like we will continue to challenge all-time highs here on the NASDAQ. But that was your worst performer today, down about 0.26%. Here you have the S&P 500, which we've got the yellow box on there coming up into overhead supply, smack dab in the middle of it right now at 4,525, a gain of 0.31%. Dow, same picture, right? Dow ripped up, although it had a much longer topping tail on it. Came right into the all-time high as well. Right now trading at 35,439 on the futures. That was a gain of 0.33%. Now, the Russell, hello Aiden, good to have you with us. The Russell still just traversing sideways, although it's starting to creep up. Who knows? Maybe we'll get it back up to that 2350 mark that you can see kind of at the top of this range in this yellow box here. On the day, 0.6% gain for the Russell, which, you know, not bad, but still, to me, just traversing sideways. Looking at gold. Now, of course, I'm kicking myself for having sold those calls on SLV at 2150 because I'm out of silver and it's ripping today. Gold was up 0.71% today. 1,783 bucks is where it closed at. That was a gain of 0.71. But check out SLV. It just drives me nuts. I dump things and they just do this. It's up to 2253 today, a gain of almost 3%. Of course, I sold calls, which got me out at 2150. Hey, fine with those gains, but it would be nice to have another, another dollar on the quantity of shares I had, which was 2,600. So, oh well, we'll take it for what it is, and hopefully I can sell some more puts here on SLV going forward if I see a nice down day. All right, moving on to number 2, crude oil, which we'll talk about crude oil inventories as well. Yeah, I do too, Aiden. It does not look good on VIH. So here you have crude oil up on the day 1.4%, continuing that great trend. I think a lot of this has to do with supply numbers coming out today. For those who didn't get to see it, let me just bring them up for you live here since I didn't take any screenshots. So here's Forex Factory. You can see your crude oil inventories. They're expecting it to go from 6.1 million barrel surplus to 2.1, right? Okay, we're going to basically drop supply by 4 million barrels. They dropped by 6.5 million barrels. We're at negative 0.4. So, of course, when you have supply pullback like that and demand remaining constant, price should move to the upside. So, all very nice day for crude oil at 1.41%. Now, if we zoom out a little bit, I guess the big question for everybody is where's crude oil going to go? So, here's your weekly on it. You look off to the left, you don't have really much here that's, going to be a major stopping point. It looks like you might have a slight little drop-based rally drop-based drop right around 93 bucks, but hey, that's $10 away. So for those of you thinking gas prices are going to get cheaper, it seems like they're going to be going higher and higher and higher. All right, now the big story of the day. Bitcoin futures, and as we see some in the chat, including Catherine saying, what about Beto? Did anybody get on that Beto? No, I'll veto Beto because I will go straight to the real cryptocurrency itself. Here's Bitcoin futures, and as you can see, the all-time high that we achieved back on April 12th, the week of April 12th, was a high of 65,520. Today, we reached much higher than that. We hit 67,680 in the futures market. Pretty nice. Now, That's, of course, the futures price. I'm more concerned personally with the spot price. I got all kinds of things to tell you about the crypto space. So it's funny, down near the bottom, you have 2.63% gain for Bitcoin, which made it right now currently trading at 65,945. So it was up to 67 earlier. Great move. Again, 4 epic weeks in a row for Bitcoin. I'll bring this back to the daily so we can see it kind of the shorter term perspective. Just continuing to power through. At some point we might see a retracement here, but let me dive in a little bit of detail about the rest of crypto space. So it was funny for those who were in the CIL. I actually was in a 5-to-1 leverage long position. So I was using leverage instruments in the Crypto Investor Live program on last night's show. And actually last Thursday morning, I had purchased some Luna on triple leverage long ETF, or triple leverage long futures, excuse me. And if you check this out, Luna today just absolutely going lift off to the tune of about 15.3%. Now it's funny because I got out. I had a really nice gain on it, but it's like, what did I get out? I got out at 41.61. So right, and this is, of course, is the nature of trading, right? You get out at a level after it's really moved, had a decent profit on it. I got out at 41.61. It's right here. And, of course, it just kept on going, hit 44, which would have doubled my profits on that one. But, hey, sometimes the crypto world is like that where things just kind of run and run and run. Another one that we made a trade on last night in the Crypto Investor Live as I was going through and showing examples of how to buy, where to buy, how to move them, transfer them, all that stuff. As a group, and I think David might be here, we actually were looking at Solana as one I wanted to add to my portfolio, which we added last night right back down in here at 156.10. So talk about a really great, perfect entry. I was kind of waiting for it to drop back down to 156.10. It came back down, tabbed me, and then just been ripping ever since. So there are a few out there that have had some major gains. Obviously, Litecoin as well, really showing a strong hand, up 9.4%. Polkadot as well, becoming one of my, it just keeps growing as a position of my portfolio. It wasn't that big, but all of a sudden, this move that we've seen over the past couple months, I'll show you the monthly here, or the daily, excuse me. This thing was trading down at $10 back in July, and now it's currently at 44. So this has become very quickly a big position of my portfolio. Interesting to see how well it's moving. Of course, those who have taken the Crypto Investor Live, you know the logic and kind of why this is rocking to the upside, dealing a lot with parachains and parachain auctions happening next month. Other than that, you have the main one out there that everyone's peeking at is Ethereum, because that's the next one to hit all-time highs. Most of these, by the way, are not at all-time highs. The only one that's really through an all-time high is Bitcoin, right? Now, a couple of the other altcoins are, but most are challenging or trying to get back to their all-time high. So like to see Ethereum break through this all-time high, which goes back to the daily in May 12th of this year. Ethereum hit a high of, let me get the exact number, 4,384. And today we hit a high of 4,138. So we've got a couple $100 to go here before we break through an all-time high on Ethereum. But that is the tail of the tape here. Now, I actually really like Ethereum's chart. We talked about this the other day being kind of a cup and handle formation, where you can see it's kind of formed that big rounding bottom over here from May all the way through September. And then if smaller cup handle right here, which doesn't go quite as low as the previous lows of 1724. That's obviously a sign of strength. So my assumption would be there'll be a little hesitation near 4250 on this before we break through. And I guess the question is there a bigger trend here? I think that's what Tom just asked. Says, Merlin, why get out of anything trending in crypto? A trailing stop is more appropriate than stop target brackets, right? Yes, I agree. I think that, I don't think you should be dumping anything in crypto. Put a trailing stop. The sad part, Tom, is most platforms will not allow you to put a trailing stop. So what you'd have to, and actually, you looked at something like Coinbase. Coinbase won't even allow you to do a stop loss. Now, Coinbase Pro does, and some of the other platforms will allow it, but you kind of have to shop around and figure out which platform you want to use. I would definitely say trailing stops probably the best way to go, because when these things trend, we've all seen it, they really run, and they run very, very strong and can go for a long period of time. I'm loving some of these moves that we're seeing recently. Obviously, my portfolio is doing great. As Chris says, BTC to the moon, baby, to the moon. And again, it's just pure math. You look at the math formula that backs up Bitcoin. And to me, it just says it's going to go higher and higher and higher and higher. All right. So I guess the question for a lot of people here is, what's the next step here? What's logical? I'm going to go back in time, way back into 2008 when I was kicked off of CNBC. So when I was kicked off of CNBC, she asked me, Amanda Drury, who's this lovely, her accent, it's got this lovely Australian accent. She's like, oh, well, let's talk about gold, okay? And I was like, oh, gosh, talk. She asked me about gold, and of course, I had my opinions about gold, and I believe the number was 1,800 on gold back in the day, and it was considerably below that. And she says, oh, Merlin, what's your thoughts on gold reaching $1,800? You know, I said, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. And she goes, what do you mean? I said, you, the industry, the TV pundits, the Jim Cramers, the Maria Bartiromos, these guys who are the fronts for social media and television promotions are all saying, is it going to get to 1,800? And I said, what happens is you guys are creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're kind of forcing it to get to that price point. And I actually can probably look up gold futures here and see. Now, of course, you do have contract rollover issues, but let's just go to a monthly just to see. And yeah, it was right here. So this has been adjusted for the contracts. There's something wonky here. Maybe it's 1,200. But yeah, this is adjusted from the contract rollover. Maybe it's 1,200. I forget exact number. I can go watch the live TV session to find out what it was. But my point was they created this. And I think that what's happened is the industry has also created the move in Bitcoin to 66,000. Why? Well, because you're targeting. You're saying, oh, it's going to get to all-time highs. And all this pressure is now sitting on Bitcoin hitting all-time highs. Now the big question is, what do you do once it breaks those all-time highs? And as we saw with the gold chart, when it finally got up to that level that we called out on the show, it broke it a little bit and then came ripping back down as it was kind of a buy the rumor, sell the news. And here we now have a situation where, Bitcoin has gone pretty parabolic. And I'm not trying to say Bitcoin's going to head for a big sell-off here, but there usually is a correction after you break through into uncharted territory. Now, I'll give you two different perspectives on this. One of my colleagues years ago, who's a respected trader, he called it blue sky, the blue sky theory. And the blue sky theory is this. If you look at Bitcoin's price chart right now, that's everything in history on Bitcoin. I'm going to get rid of some of these lines because they just don't mean anything anymore because we're at all-time highs. I'll get rid of every line on this chart. Blue sky theory says, I have nothing above us. I have nothing to look at to the upside. So when you're looking, whether you're a retail trader or an institutional trader, and you're saying, hey, I want to look for some supply zones to sell at, you ain't got any. You have blue sky. So what happens is the odds of people selling go down because there isn't a logical point yet to sell your shares at, if that makes sense, or your coins or whatever asset this is. So blue sky theory says that when we break through an all-time high like this, that it's going to run for a while. Now, while I like that, and of course I would welcome that because I have a good position in Bitcoin and crypto, period, I don't know. I don't know if that's necessarily the case with this one. I think that after the run we've had, which you notice this move over the past couple of months, I'll map it out, which I've already done, but we'll do it again. Going back to these September 29th lows to where we are right now, which is not even a month, less than 1 month, we're up 64%. That's getting towards that parabolic level I've talked about in this program quite a bit. I would think it's going to come back down a little bit. If it does, I would be interested in potentially buying right around that 57 mark, which of course is $10,000 off current price, but it can happen very quickly. As you can see back here in May, we had some very big down days where, it could drop $10,000 in a day, no problem. So that's where we're at. I don't know. I'm still on the fence. I will not be selling any Bitcoin, just for those who are asking. I will not be selling any of my Bitcoin. Right now, I'm in a hold mode. I did sell out of my Luna just because that move I thought went a little bit too far too fast today. As you can see here, just a straight parabolic candle. But that's my take on Bitcoin. I actually think you'll see a little bit of a pullback, but this overall trend is too powerful. The supply numbers, the increasing demand and utilization for Bitcoin around the world, including adoption rate, to me just warrants a much higher price over time. So, I would personally hold on to it. Merlin would use the fib extensions to look for possible supply zones. Sure, you could definitely do that. And again, how would you do that, right? How would you use fib extensions? I've never used them let's see if I can do it with this platform. I've never used them in TradingView. So you kind of have to, map it out here. And that way would be, let's see if we got it. Is this going to be fib extensions? Let's see. Fib, no, long position, short position. I don't even know where that one, there we go. Fib extensions. And trend-based. God, they get so many different stupid versions of it. I just want extensions. So the way it usually works is you pick your starting point of the rally, you pick your peak of the most recent rally, and then you go back down to where it retraced to. So this would now be giving me a expectation of where it might go. And conveniently, it's kind of interesting if you do the retracement, it actually shows you it would have come right back up to the all-time highs, which is exactly where it went. Now the question is, where's it going to go after that? Well, 1.618 extension from that level would be roughly 78,166. I would gladly welcome that, right? Manson has a formula for blue skies using Fibonacci levels. A lot of people do. I think everyone kind of uses slight deviations or variations of it, but that's how I use it. And again, I'm not putting any real emphasis on these levels. I don't think that these are the holy grail by any stretch of the imagination. But they can give you some expectation. And I do believe there are people who are using this as potential targets. Although, if you guys, I know we have some people here. We're in Crypto Investor Live. I gave a bunch of reasons why I think that you'll see this go a lot higher. A lot of it having to do with just supply and destruction of Bitcoin, as well as the hodlers and those like myself who are not going to be selling for really any price for a period of years. So you could be using these extension levels. I'm a fan of that, but Fibonacci has way too many tools. As you notice over here in TradingView, you've got Fibonacci time zones, channels, Ganbox, speed resistance fan. These things are so stupid. I think this honestly is one of the dumbest things ever. Here, I'll give you an example. Fibonacci time zone, say, okay, well, it moved from here and then it turned right there. Which basically, I'll leave this line here because who knows, maybe I'll look like a fool down the road. But it's saying that these lines will start to indicate big turning points, which means on October 27th, the day after the best day of the year, which is my birthday, we will see this market turn around. Okay, that might actually line up with my expectation that we're going to see a pullback here, which would be convenient. But now it's giving us markers way down the road, as you can see here, based off Fibonacci. For those who don't know what Fibonacci is, you take a number, you add the previous number, and you get a new one, which would be 1 plus 1 is 2, 2 plus 1 is 3, 3 plus 2 is 5. So it's, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 11. It just keeps on going and going and going. On and on, not 11. But anyway, you get it. 1, 1, 2, 3, 5. Actually, it's at the bottom of the screen here, which is convenient. 13, that's right. 13, 21. And these are all different Fibonacci lines. So, do they add value to the trade? I don't know. I think it gives people hope. I think it gives people goals, but I don't know if it is concrete and is going to work all the time. I don't believe it works all the time, but I do use Fibonacci retracements more than I do anything else, right? These time zones to me are a joke. I think time zones are an absolute farce. But do I like using this one here? Fibonacci retracements? Oh, yeah. So if it went from, let's say tomorrow Bitcoin starts to slow down and sell off a little bit. I would go from here to that peak, and that's going to give me some targets where Bitcoin may pull back to. And if you notice, the first step that it comes back, this 23.6 Fibonacci retracement, that's right in a basing area. And you notice that some of these other ones line up there as well. So I do like using retracements, and I actually like TradingViews because it color codes them. I like CliK's the best. CliK has some really nice Fibonacci. It's nice to hodl so I don't need to chart it out constantly. Right, I'm 100% with you. I mean, honestly, Big Eb, I think you'd probably agree. We probably look at our positions a little bit too often. I mean, I have an app on my phone which I like that I put all my positions in so I can see where it stands overall. We probably look at it too much, but I know I'm holding Bitcoin. I'm not really worried. I mean, if Bitcoin jumps to 100,000 by tomorrow morning, it won't be like, oh, I better sell it. It's going to be one of those things where I'm going, yeah, all right, here we go. Now we'll go to 200,000 and 300,000. So again, with Bitcoin, I'm thinking, 10 years down the road, it'll just continue to keep building and building. Some of the other ones, I will time it, like Luna today. Luna, I'm not sold on their product, I'm not sold on their system, their ecosystem, but did very well. I made some nice money on that one over the last couple of days. What else do we have? Beta looks nice, and Tom says Beto looks nice for my buy and hold IRA, and I think that's why this is such a great instrument, right? Because Tom, you actually pointed out to me you sent one by Lynn Alden, the math problem that is GBTC. It's wonky. It doesn't make much sense. It's screwy because it's a closed-end trust. However, you have Beto now, which is just a futures product. You can now put that in your retirement accounts, your IRA, much better. Again, when we get the physical backed cryptocurrency ETF, that's the one I want you to put in your funds. Catherine says, Coin and Mara. Again, that rising tide floats all boats, right? So if we look out here at Mara, and these are mining companies, guys, they've been doing really well. Why? Well, their mining rewards are growing. You know, I think, I mentioned this before, I think what China did recently by banning cryptocurrencies in their country and pushing out innovation is one of the dumbest, it'll be looked back at one of the dumbest things that they have done. Because they have pushed innovation out of their country, which could have remained behind their borders. Now they're forcing entrepreneurs in the digital asset space and creating blockchain technologies or decentralized exchanges or just the future of financial markets. They forced them out. And now a lot of the miners have moved to the United States. You see Mara. This is a result of Bitcoin's price increase. It almost goes lockstep because Mara makes money from mining. So, of course, if the price of Bitcoin goes from $40,000 to $70,000, they're making a lot more money in the process. So, Mara definitely doing good. You had Coinbase, which you talked about. I always type this one in wrong. I don't know why. C-O-I-N. Come on. There we go. Coinbase doing great, obviously because of the interest in crypto, and this goes back to my discussion about adoption. I think this is actually very good because the more adoption we get, the more that people realize, hey, crypto's here to stay. Don't necessarily have to be a fanboy like myself, but knowing that it is going to be a lasting part of our society. It's going to change the way we transact, and we will be using different protocols. Coinbase, with the selection that they offer and the ease of transaction, is obviously getting much more market share. You can see the volume increasing, and a lot of this has to do with NFTs. Now, part of my discussion for tomorrow with my Crypto Investor Live program people, and for those that are here that are in that program, I'll just kind of give you a head start. It's knowing that there are specific things that have happened in the past that change the course of future trajectory of price action. And if you look at what caused the 2017 massive market rally, you'll also see that we are in a very similar situation now where you have something has caused this rally, and once that stalls or gets the rug pulled out from underneath it, I think we're actually going to have a pretty big market pullback here in the crypto space to the tune of 30, 40, maybe even 50%. So be wary of it, and I think this is where, for some of your positions, put some stop losses on it. Make sure there's levels where you say, I'll get out and buy back later. For example, I have some numbers for Ethereum that I'm thinking about getting out of all my Ethereum for multiple reasons, but it's been on a tear. It's really been just ripping up here, and I'm a little concerned that we're going to see history repeat itself and we'll have a pretty big market sell-off. And look at Ethereum just looking absolutely awesome. I'd love to get out at 4,200 and buy back in at 2,800. That's market timing at its finest for me. What else do I have? So you want to look at Riot. So I think we just that was similar to Mara, but you have Riot Blockchain. There you go. Hey, Brendan, good to see you. I got your email. I'll reach out to you. I totally understand all your points, buddy. I get it, 100%. So here you have, Riot Blockchain, not as strong as Mara, but in the similar space. So MicroStrategy, remember, MicroStrategy is a different animal. MicroStrategy is basically doing everything they can, and they're making a statement saying it's not worth it. It's worth it for me to take on debt at like 3, 4, 5% and buy Bitcoin because I'll be making 20, 30, 40%. So it's an interesting business proposition, if you will, although I think that Michael Saylor, who's the CEO of MicroStrategy, is he's kind of backing himself into a corner because if he's wrong, he's going to be very wrong. He could be exceptionally wrong, and this could absolutely devastate him. What's interesting for me, though, is this whole period where we peaked back in February, he's been buying hundreds of millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin. And Bitcoin's now at all-time highs, but MicroStrategy hasn't made that high. So to me, it seems a little suspect here. I don't know if I would necessarily jump on MSTR as my proxy for Bitcoin right now. I would probably look towards BITO or look to the futures market or just go out and buy actual physical cryptocurrency. DAOs are the next craze like NFTs. Yes, decentralized autonomous organizations I do think are. Well, I mean, they already are a craze. I just think that most people don't know them or understand. They're not as mainstream as an NFT. But yes, DAOs are certainly an important part of the ecosystem, if you will, that allows governance on a broad level so everybody can access it. Let's see. What else we got? Bitcoin's going 10x higher. I hope you're right. I really hope you're right. I think it will. But it's just a question of when, right? It's a question of how long. I stand by my forecast that, we'll be at $100,000 by the end of next year. I think that that's actually, at this point, extremely conservative. Like I say, it could potentially hit $100,000 by the end of this year if the chips fall where they may and things look right. We're not that far off, and especially we have moves like we did today on Bitcoin, where you can see we moved to the upside today in Bitcoin in absolute value. Where's my BTC one? Almost $2,000 up today. Well, we're at 66,000, so $2,000 moves is not that big of a deal. We could find ourselves at 100,000 pretty easily. How much would it have to go up, you might be asking? Well, let me put a line at 100,000 here just to see. But again, I really like the video that I made because I do think it spells out not just a hypothesis of, oh, it's going to get 100,000 like a lot of social media people do, but saying how it's going to get there. So it would be a move up right now of 52%. Now, mind you, it's moved up 52% in the last month. So another 52%, that could happen very quickly, and that'd put us at $100,000. Boom, done. Easy. I think it could definitely happen in a very, very short order. How long until there's no more circulating new Bitcoin? I will tell you that. That's 2140. That's when there will be no new Bitcoin being created, is 2140, so we will all be dead. Let's not worry about that. Yep, exactly. Moved up 60%, I think. But anyway, it is moving up a ton. And again, I think that could happen very easy. So I'm with it. Again, that's why I'm not selling Bitcoin, but I might sell some of these other ones. I'm not going to be selling Solana. I'm not going to be selling Polkadot either. Polkadot, with their parachain auctions and what they're doing, to me is very interesting. It's kind of a unique proposition in the industry. All right, what else do I have here? What stocks do you think will do better, mining or blockchain or anything else? Well, that's a good question. So personally, and this, I'm sure I'm going to get some conflict here. That's totally fine. I kind of would be moving away from mining stocks. And why is that? Because the preponderance of new projects that are being created are some form of proof of stake that doesn't use the proof of work system. So right now, Ethereum and Bitcoin are using proof of work. There's several others that are still using proof of work, but those are the number one and number two are using proof of work. Ethereum is in a transition process, which will hopefully put them into proof of stake by January, which means a huge amount of miners are going to be sitting there going, I've got no way to make money now. Right? So to me, I think that you'll start to see Mara or these companies that are mining and using Ethereum miners. They're using ASIC miners, which are specifically tailored to mine Ethereum. Those don't convert easily to Bitcoin. There's a different process. There's a different chipset, right? They have to modify those miners to move them over to Bitcoin. So I don't know. I think that your Riot blockchain, your Mara, these mining companies will probably start to feel the pinch Q1 or Q2 of next year as they start to realize, hey, the mining space is declining. And, in my opinion, I think if you look down the road, there will probably only be one or two that are staying with proof of work. Bitcoin will always be proof of work. It's not going to change. But proof of stake will probably be the common one, or a directed acyclic graph or a hash graph or something like that would be the technology that people are using. All right, what do we got? How do you know by 2140? It's the emission curve. So basically, there isn't anything that says there will only be 21 million Bitcoin. There's nothing in the code that says that. What it is every 210,000 blocks of data that are processed. Remember, there's a block of data for Bitcoin solved every 10 minutes. So every 210,000 blocks that are solved, the reward gets cut in half. So you go back to 2009 when it started, it was 50 Bitcoin reward. You take 50 Bitcoin times 210,000 blocks, you get like 10 million and something. That next set, after that first 210,000, it's no longer a 50 Bitcoin reward, it's a 25 Bitcoin reward. So you go from 10 million Bitcoin in the first 210,000 blocks to 5 million Bitcoin to 2.5 to 1.25, and it slowly starts to decrease till ultimately in 2140, the last official Bitcoin will have been mined, and that is 21 million. So there you go. How do miners typically raise capital for operators? Not sure I understand that one, Brandon. I think that the challenge here for any of these miners that are doing Ethereum, for example, is they're going to have to either retool those ASICs if they can do that. I'm not sure. I'm not into those. And by the way, an ASIC miner simply means an application-specific integrated circuit, meaning it's tailored for one type of mining. Right, a specific style, and there's a whole bunch of different STILEs out there that basically goes after the algorithm that created it. So, for example, Bitcoin's SHA-256, great. It's tailored to a SHA-256 consensus algorithm, and it's mining that one. Let's see what else we have. How do miners, could they start mining Litecoin then instead? Yes, they could. I'm not sure if Litecoin is the same structure as Ethereum. That I don't know. But they would have to move those miners to something that is okay with those miners, with those ASICs. To me, and they can't go to Bitcoin. That's a different structure. So I don't know. I have a feeling that miners are going to take a little bit of a hit, but that's just me. There we go. Miners definitely don't have job security. And this is, I made this point in my Crypto Investor Live, which I'm not going to go in depth here, but basically you've told your entire system, you've told every miner of Ethereum a year ago, you're not going to have a job come January. You know, normally when you fire an employee, you walk them out that same day. Why? Because you know they're just going to sit there and they don't give a F about anything. They're just going to be like, whatever, I'll sit here, twiddle my thumbs, and maybe download some viruses onto your network, or, you know, I'm hostile, I'm angry. Well, all those miners are in that situation right now. So I'm a little skeptical on this transition. I think it could be a rocky one, but we'll have to wait and see. Capital, yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying. How do miners typically raise capital for operators? They get backers. So you're going to get some VC who's going to come in there and say, wow, here's all the numbers. It all makes sense. You're going to buy these miners. You're going to pay this electricity, and here's your overhead. Great. You'll make this much money. Cool. We'll give you 10, 50, $100 million, whatever the case may be. Now, if I'm a VC and someone's saying, hey, we're going to be Ethereum miners, I'm like, I'm not giving you anything. No way would I give you a penny. Okay. There we go. What else we got? Woo, time's flying. I didn't even go to my splash screen. There it is. The crypto Blastoff with the Bitcoin soaring. I love it. It's been so much fun. Let's change topics here because I know Mike is with us and he asked me to go over these ones. So I will gladly field any questions that come my way in the chat. So send them on in. Mike says, can you look at cannabis sector? I think it's about a monthly request from Mike to look at things like ACB, MJ, and Tilray. So let's do that right now. I'll just start off with the overall sector, which is MJ. This does not look good, right? It's the perfect definition of a lower high, lower low, just keeps on trending lower and lower and lower. It's below its moving averages. Now you could make the argument, oh, well, it's coming into some demand zone from way back here. Actually, it broke through it. You know, there might be some other ones. Honestly, it looks like $11.35 might be the next stopping point for MJ. It's crazy. Crazy to think that it's just drifting so much lower since the beginning of the year. It's really been an ugly decline. You know, if you feel great on the long term, you could take a chance at it. But right now, it's just not proving anything of strength. It's actually just looking like nothing but weakness. You look at, what was the other one here? ACB. All right, this looks a little bit better than MJ. And the only reason I say that is because it looks like inverse head and shoulders. It's making a higher low here recently. It's above its moving average, which of course is still not looking great, but it does look rather positive. You're breaking some more recent highs. So if you get a close on this above, let's say 775, then, you know, maybe you put a little bit on the line with ACB here, but again, it's going to follow the same overall market picture. It's going to continue to look like MJ most likely, right? It's part of that index. Now, this one looks better than MJ in my opinion. Tilray, ugly. I mean, this is almost worse than the chart of MJ. It's just nothing but down. And I know what you were thinking, Mike. You mentioned that you thought it was coming into some areas of demand. It is, but I don't know. I don't like it. It's still down below moving averages. I've got too many things pointing against the industry right now, at least from a technical perspective. I'm not worried about fundamentals or earnings or anything like that. Just looking at the price chart. And until I see a change here, I got to stay out of it. I hate to say it. ACB out of the three looks the best. What about CRON? You didn't mention that one, but we'll throw that one in as kind of a bonus. The Cronus common shares, similar picture. Nothing but lower lows, lower highs. You know, we've had 2 great days for it. Nice pop up. Nice pop to the upside, but it's going to probably hit its head on that downward moving average. That just doesn't look great. It's not making new highs. It just had 2 up days. So, sorry, not a fan of the sector right now. It just doesn't look good. What else do we have? I just made 40% of that bullish T-Ray pop here. Nice. Congrats. Well, you know, you made 43% in one day, but, you know, I'm pretty sure you didn't buy it yesterday. I mean, you might have. But, you know, where did you get in on here? Because this was definitely that you're going against the trend. And there's nothing wrong with going against the trend, in my opinion, if it's at a demand zone or supply zone. But, yeah, lucky pop there. Glad it helped out on you. All right. Let's see. Come on, Dems, get some pot laws passed. Yeah, they're too busy trying to go after crypto and yell at each other from across the aisle. But yes, let's get some pot laws. But let's pass some laws federally so that we can get some of these prison spaces cleared out of people who just don't deserve to be there for, having a bag of weed on them. Come on, that's ridiculous. But remember, prisons get paid by keeping people in them, not rehabilitating them and sending them home. So, gotta love private prisons where they're doing whatever they can to keep those people in there as long as possible and be at absolute capacity. Kind of a travesty, in my opinion, but that's a topic for a different day and a different show. Let's see. Oh, $12 calls last week. Nice. $12 calls. Woo, lordy. Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at Cronus. I was like, man, that was a deep one there, bud. There you go. Okay, so let me do this one real quick before I go into the trade setups right now. Aiden says, I have some VA8 shares back, which is dropping bad. Is it a good strategy to add more? No, it's not. It's down to the lower average price, or never add to your losing position. It's funny. I believe David was asking me about my 10 laws, because I talk about my 10 laws a lot. One of mine on that one, I should move it over here so I can read it. I forget which one, but it says, never add to a losing position. It just shows that you're wrong. And it assumes that you believe that company is going to come back. If we look at the chart here of BKKT, which is backed holdings, this is the VIH one. I mean, this thing is cratering. And I talked about it a while back where I was actually going to wait for it to switch over to BAKKT and then let it do its thing. And I thought we'd rally up a little bit, but if you look at what they've done, they're garbage. VIH is backed as trash. All they said they're going to be a custodial for institutions. They want to be the big dog for institutional clients for crypto. That was their pitch with the ICE and NYSE. Now all of a sudden they're saying, hey, we've got a card that you can go buy Starbucks with Bitcoin. Stupid. I hate to say it, because I own it. I'm long. I have 1,000 shares long from 15. And to me, it's just dead money right now. I have no interest in doing anything with it. I'll probably keep it. And at some point, maybe back actually steps up and commits their obligations. But I committed that money. It's considered already gone. I absolutely agree. You should add to winners, especially when something's rolling in your favor. Great. Add to it. But, Aiden, I wouldn't add to this one. I don't like it. I'm frustrated with it as well, just because of what they've done in their talk track. We're at the lowest point this thing's ever been. And again, this is, to me, is one of the risks of SPACs. Remember, I talked about that when we did the SPAC special, and I was talking about how with a SPAC, you're trusting the people who are making the acquisition. So it was VIH Holdings, right? They went out and they found backed and did some deal to bring them public. Well, what it's basically saying is they paid way too much to bring backed public. And all of a sudden, it's tanking and not looking good at all. So hopefully they get their act together. Ideally, if they did what they said they were going to do, which was be the clearing firm for big institutions and with regards to crypto, then I think this thing's got, double-digit target for sure. Get to the $20-30, no problem. Unfortunately, it just has done nothing like that. Brendan says, Doge is moving better than back. Yeah, it is. So here's backed, and then let's just go look at Dogecoin. I think I have it on here. There's Doge. It's moving better than Shiba Inu. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it looks like a waterfall. It's ugly. It looks really bad. Manage your risk. Don't add to it. Yep, love it. I'm with you. And here's the thing. If you are adding a losing position, so let's say you've got a trade on, and you say, I'm just going to use numbers here that are easy for me to calculate. And you're risking $1 and you buy 1,000 shares. You're risking $1,000. Period, right? And let's say that's your ultimate risk. If you decide to add to your position and you go from adding from 1,000 to 2,000 shares, remember, you have a 50-cent stop loss now to risk $1,000, if that makes sense. So if you are going to be adding to positions, you need to tighten up your stop losses, because now if you don't double your stop loss, you've doubled your loss. Don't go chasing waterfall. What are we, TLC over here, Drew? Come on. So yeah, I don't add to losing positions. It's bad practice. Add to winners. If it goes against you and you lose, that's fine. That's one thing. But you just you don't want to be adding to those, because how low could back go? It could go to zero. If their only product is a card or an application that allows you to buy Starbucks with the Bitcoin, it could go to zero. Right? It's like one of those .com companies that just fizzled away and did nothing. So unfortunately, that's the harsh reality of that one. I like to use position size as risk. Yeah, well, remember, it's a combination, Brendan. It's position size plus the ATR, right? Like how much it's moving. And those two in combination define your ultimate risk, right? So it's saying, okay, I'll adjust the number of shares, but when I'm looking at the adjustment of the share size, I have to know per share how much I'm risking. And those two numbers in combination, I seldom use stop losses. Oh, you're killing me, Smalls. You always got to use them. Anyway, all right. Let's see. Lisa says, what trade setups do you like? Well, Lisa, I mean, there's a few individual ones, but I'll keep it high level. Right now, as far as trade setups, I'm liking all the indexes short. Look at your S&P. Smack into supply. It looks great. I like the NASDAQ. Smack into supply. Looks great. I like the Dow. Smack into supply. Looks great. Only one that's not looking good out of the indexes is the Russell. So, I think you get ready for a pullback or a short opportunity on the ES, the YM, or the NQ. I think those three offer potentials there. How much time do I got left? Holy cow. One last one. This is from Ethan. Ethan said, I've been trading equities for almost a year now and would like to learn futures. Any suggestions? Yeah. Take a class. I'm going to sound like a salesperson for Online Trading Academy, but it doesn't have to be OTA. You can find somebody else. Learn the mechanics of it. Now, I would say if you start with something that doesn't move very quickly, where the price point's not going to hurt you. So you can use micros, you can use minis, or go to a YM contract. It doesn't have as big of a punch if it goes against you. And start working on your mechanics, your entries, stop loss, price targets, how you plan out all of your trades, and do that with something that doesn't move very much. From there, you start to learn about the other ones. And when you're in index futures, I'm not going to say it's easy. I would say it's easier because there's standard rules around the indexes, right? As soon as you start looking into things like raw lumber or rough lumber or soybeans or wheat or corn, now you're dealing with all kinds of weird different pieces with regards to lock limit downs, circuit breakers, with regards to trading hours, tick values. It gets really complicated, and I would encourage you not to jump into it. Start slow, and I think really start to look at index futures to begin with, and then once you get comfortable, start to broaden out a little bit, but don't rush into it. Futures, leverage assets, leverage instruments. If you're on the wrong side of them, they can cut deep. So make sure you have a plan in place for everything that you do with regards to futures. Margaret says, she meant, do you use moving averages or something like, so are you talking to me or are you talking to somebody else? I just use a physical stop loss. So based off of risk, like how much I want to risk, I'm risking $1,000. I've got X amount of shares. This will be my stop loss. And it's a hard one. Now, if I'm in a nice winning trade that's going in my favor, I might use a moving average and just kind of manually do it. Say if it closes below this one, I'm going to get out. But these are all rules that you have to establish for yourself. All right, let's look at what we got for tomorrow, and then I'm going to jump out of here. For the 21st, oh man, it is flying. Economic calendar for Thursday really doesn't bring you too much. You have the Philly Fed Manufacturing Index and unemployment claims, which are actually expecting it to rise back up a little bit. Other than that, we have existing home sales, which remember we saw permits and housing starts show somewhat negative information, right? And I think that might be interesting to watch for this existing home sales numbers. You also have natural gas coming out. We had crude oil today. We also have Tesla reporting earnings. I don't know if you guys saw that one. Let's go and I'll bring up Tesla here. Here's Tesla, just so you guys can take a peek at that one. I'll show you the 1 minute. Really didn't have much of an impact. I was really expecting it to have some volatile swings. Didn't really happen, right? There's Tesla today. And I'm sorry. It doesn't work on this platform. I got to go here. So here's Tesla. All right, you can see on a 1 minute time frame, you can see where they came out with earnings. Kind of a wild swing, but it wasn't that much. It was only $20. A $20 swing from high to low on Tesla is crazy. That's like a normal day. But yeah, they actually had really good earnings. I think they beat by 38% on their earnings. I was actually expecting them to have a big jump up as a bull trap. Typically what will happen on an earnings like that is it jumps up, breaks an all-time high over 900, and then comes ripping back down the next day, which kind of sucks for me because I would like to potentially short Tesla if it had a big jump up tomorrow, but it doesn't look like it's going to. It looks like it's going to just kind of open right where it closed out yesterday. Or close out today. So that's your major economic stuff. If you're trading the British pound, which we've been looking at the British pound quite a bit, at least looking at a few of the charts here, you have retail sales numbers coming out tomorrow. That's going to be after we do the show. So tomorrow night you'll have the British pound coming out with some information. And the reason I like that is British pound is right at supply. I mean, you're smack dab at supply right now, so that number may have an impact on the trajectory of the British pound. And then I think we have some earnings tomorrow, which is going to be AT&T, Intel, Snapchat, Blackstone, Valero, American Airlines, Crocs. So yes, gotta love plastic rubberized shoes that look hideous. Southwest Airlines, Union Pacific, and Freeport McMoran. Bullish on that one, although it's coming right into some challenging areas. I'll go FCX for you guys just so you can see it. Here's Freeport McMoran. It's had a great run up over the past 3 weeks, but we are again at supply. A lot of these things right now are at supply, which makes it rather challenging. So let's see. The best way to manage risk is through stop loss orders, in my opinion. Yep. I think there's two ways to manage. Number one, stops are probably the single. Position size is the number one way to control risk. If you don't want to take on risk, don't trade any shares or contracts or lots or whatever. So I would argue that position size is your number one risk management tool. Stop losses are a way for you to adhere to a specific number or amount of risk that you want to take. From there, I think it's important to look at the different type of asset class that you're trading, because there's inherently different risk between trading something like shares of Microsoft versus trading Bitcoin futures versus trading, options on Amazon. There's different risk sets there depending on which one, or even, Forex, spot Forex market 100 to 1. So that's important from a risk management perspective. But all of that, to me, encompasses what we should be paying attention to, which, of course, is risk management. Tom says, beating earnings means analysts were off. All you need is cameras at the Tesla shipping docks to see how many cars rolled out, and that would be fairly accurate. Well, I'm sure somebody did that, right? Somebody was on, but who knows? And by the way, remember we were talking about the shipping and inventory issues coming forward? I saw some headlines today talking about how retailers were panicking and just ordering mass amounts of extra supplies. So if you can hold off on holiday shopping, I'm willing to bet you that January, February, March, maybe even April, you're going to have some epic sales going on as retailers are going to try to offload all this extra inventory that's just sitting there. But that's just me. The Grinch that stole Christmas. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. If you have anything you want me to discuss on tomorrow's show, send it on in at TraderMerlin@gmail.com. That's the easiest way to get in touch with me. If you're watching the archives, post it down below the YouTube video. Any comments there, I will try to remove all the porn ads and scammers that are trying to get people to click their links down below the YouTube videos, but always welcome chat down there as well. You can email me, TraderMerlin@gmail.com. Until then, happy trading, everybody. Enjoy the crypto rally, and we'll see if it's even higher tomorrow or maybe get that pullback. I'll see you guys on tomorrow's show. Take care.